When it comes to knowing the geography of your fingerboard, are you like this or more like that? If it's a latter, well, you've come to the right place, because in this video I tell you exactly what to work on, which materials to use to become an absolute position whiz kid. If this is your first time here, a very warm welcome to my channel. My name is Julia Morneweg, and here we talk about everything you could possibly ever want or need to know about learning to play the cello in great detail and in a really no-nonsense fashion. Of course, I hope that my content will be really helpful to you, and if it is, please do smash that like button, consider subscribing, and if you want to become one of the people who help me to keep my channel alive, kicking and growing, you can now leave me a little tip via the Ko-fi link below. Let's get started with today's video. Uncertainty about positions is something that I come across a lot in my teaching, particularly when I'm working with players around the intermediates, sort of in the British system, grade 5, grade 6 standards. On the face of it, you have gone through all the neck positions, up into the higher positions, maybe up to the C in 7th position. But as you start playing more complex repertoire, suddenly positions appear in configurations that you don't really quite recognize. Now, that is something, as I see a lot of, and there is plenty we can do about it. So today I want to take you a little bit through the teaching materials that I use to address that. Now, as soon as, provided I start someone off from the beginning, the moment they are really well set up, settled in first position, which means good right hand mechanics, good bow hold, reliable left hand shape, solid intonation in first position, that's when we start the long step-by-step process of learning one position after another in turn. And the initial material that I will always use for that, really the Bible for that, is this book here, book 1 of Rick Mooney's position pieces, where in the course of various chapters, you basically learn one position after another. You always start off with target practice, where you usually relate the new position to an open string. Then you have got these wonderful geography quizzes to make sure that also from a theory standpoint you really understand, and this is important. I always find that students have a tendency to try and wiggle out of doing those, but it's incredibly important because you need to know every time you learn a new position exactly which note is on which finger in that position. And then in each chapter you get 4, 5, 6 pieces in that new position, and usually it will combine it with first position. So that's a really good starting point. And then there is also volume 2, which goes into the higher positions. 5, 6 and 7 works in much the same way. So both of these books, if you haven't got them already, if you want to work on your positions, absolute must-haves, easily available on Amazon as well. I will post the links below. However, in my experience, they're a really good introduction, but they only get you so far. And after that, we kind of need to go up a step, because what I find is we then get to the point where, you know, suddenly you start playing pieces which have got a greater variety of positions, and you start encountering them in the wild, so to speak. Yeah? And that's very often where I find the disconnect then kicks in a little bit. Okay, you've done all of these positions in isolation, but suddenly, even when you start doing sort of the more complex scales with more sharps and flats, you know, you might start to find that you get a lot of these new positions at once and in different configurations with extensions, also things, and it can all get a little bit much. So this is where I will then introduce sort of the next slightly more advanced tier of position training, and for that I'm once again going to recruit our dear friend Feuillard. Now, this book, if you have a newer edition of it, the short one, it will be red on the cover, but this is basically just about 25 years old. So looks slightly different, but even if you haven't got it at all, fret not, it's now all out of copyright, available on IMSLP, so I am posting the link to the PDF below. So in other words, you have no excuse to delay practicing whatsoever, because you can download the music literally right here. So if we open this book on page 3, from exercise number 3 onwards, we have got a whole chapter that extends from number 3 all the way to really up until number 9. 8 and 9 are really sort of very systematic, using essentially all the positions kind of one after the other. Whereas 3 to 7 are structured as such that in number 3, all you're getting is exercises involving first and second position. In number 4, you get first and third, and then second and third. In number 5, you get first and fourth, second and fourth, and third and fourth. So you can see how this is, so on and so on. Yeah, you can see how this goes. Now, what is different here? The ones you get in here, as you can see, this is all first and second position on the A string, on the D string, on the G string, on the C string. You get in one chunk all the different permutations of each position, and it doesn't tell you which one, but just by seeing the notes at that point, you have to figure out, do I need an extended position here? Do I need the lower second position? Do I need the upper second position? So this really tests your knowledge of what you have learned in the position pieces book. And you may well find at that point that you might need to revisit that on numerous occasions. Yeah. So, and just by looking at it, you can see that there will be they're always one bar long. Lots of them will suddenly have lots of flats, lots of sharps in them. And so what I say to my students, I obviously, you know, I'm not expecting anyone to play, you know, 4 or 5 pages worth of exercise back to back every day. That's not realistic. Instead, I always say from each one, from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, pick a few bars every day. And here's how you choose those bars. Take a look at the whole chunk and pick the one which purely by looking at it makes you feel slightly sick, because you look at so many sharps and so many flats and you just go, oh, crikey. Yeah, that's the one you want to pick, exactly that one. And you really take it apart very, very slowly. Okay, which permutation of first position and third position do I need here? Is there an extension here? Is it the higher position? Is that the lower third position, the higher third position? What is it? Yeah, and then you practice it. Don't worry about the fact that everything here has got long slurs on it. You can add those later. Practice it super slowly, to make sure everything is really in tune. Don't, it's very tempting to go as like, okay, yeah, but that's a slightly weird position, so I'm going to be, you know, give myself a little bit more leeway with the intonation. No. Do it really slowly, connect very slowly between the notes to make sure you hear what is going on, and then make adjustments as necessary. Yeah. So why is that so important to do this work? Obviously, not only will it make playing your scales and your pieces and everything much easier, but funny enough, the context where I very, very often find that people get really flustered with positions is either when they need to sight read something, or especially sometimes when I coach orchestral sectionals, because by definition orchestral cello parts, they're not written with technical comfort in mind. Yeah, most of this stuff is not written by a composer saying, you know, who thinks, no, okay, I'm not gonna write things in F sharp major, it's really uncomfortable on a cello. No, frankly, they couldn't care less. Yeah, so those are the parts where you really find the weirdest combinations and permutations of positions. And so the more you're really on top of that, you know, if you go to a play in your, I don't know, youth orchestra, community orchestra, whatever it is you do, and you know, you've really done your homework on your positions, you will suddenly feel an awful lot more on top of what it is you are doing. So here we go. 3 books that you should have if you want to get on top of your positions. So 2 volumes of position pieces. Those you have to order from Amazon. Feuillard you can get for free. All the links below. Now, so this is just my little bit of advice on how to improve your position game, and that is what I do with my students, whether they always enjoy it or not. But I can tell you that it really, really, really works, and much as it might be very painful at the time, when you start to encounter all those positions in the wild next time, you will be really grateful that you have done the work. As always, any questions, pop them below and we'll have a chat. See you soon.